Hello and welcome to the final installment of From Central Office this year. Happy June. It is officially the last month of school, and we are very excited for the summer and for graduation and all the things that come with summertime here in the City of Falls Church. Today I have two really awesome guests with me today that we'll spend a few minutes with in just a moment. The first is Michelle Kopic, our Director of Budget and Finance, and also Mary Beth Connolly, who is our Community Relations, I got it right. Community Outreach Director. I can never quite get that exactly right, but all things community, we'll say, is Mary Beth Connolly. So thank you both for being here. Really glad to have you. A couple of updates that I wanted to give before we have a chance to talk with our awesome guests today. The first is, in our last installment, I had mentioned that this begins the busiest time of year for us in Central Office. I know it's hard to believe. As the year winds down, a lot of people think, oh, now the schools will sort of go quiet and people can have vacations and the like. And I want to just take a second to dispel that myth a little bit in the community, to say that this is the time of year where we in Central Office really begin to gear up. And the way that I like to think about it is we're sort of planning a 9-month party for 2,500 of our very best friends. So if you've ever planned a big party, you know that takes some time and effort. So some of the things that we do here during the summer, just to give you a sense, is we do a lot of curriculum development here. During the summer, our teachers come in and work with our Central Office staff on updating the standards, updating our curriculum, making sure that we continue to be aligned with what the state expects our students to know, be able to do and understand. We are updating our instructional manuals and talking with people about best practice and the like. We do a lot of material review and also our purchasing materials for the coming year. This is a big year for math adoption. So we will be spending a lot of time this summer looking at math materials and reviewing those kinds of things. We also do a lot of master planning across the division. We have our schools that are developing schedules for your students, so when they come back we know whose classrooms they're going to be in, and that is quite a tall task and a big algorithm, particularly at the secondary level at Henderson and at George Mason High School. We're working on a couple construction projects. You might have heard about them, and I'll update you on those in a couple of minutes. We do a big summer cleaning. So when your kids come back to school in the fall, all of our buildings will be beaming, very clean, and our custodial crews will be moving as teams throughout the buildings through the summer to do the summer cleaning. We're wiping all of our technology clear, so that when we check out our laptops, for example, to our students in the fall, they'll be clear of any kind of potential issues of virus, and making sure the software is up to date. We're tuning up our buses, and we are ordering food and planning our meals for next year as well. So we are really quite busy and in the throes of getting ready for summer, and I'm excited about that. So speaking of summer and perhaps going on vacation and spending some time down with your family, I wanted to share a couple of things that we are going to be looking at over the summer. So perhaps this could be a good summer reading opportunity for you. There are a couple of books that I've dusted off the covers of and I wanted to bring back out to put into our minds around student learning and student outcomes and sort of how we maneuver through the school system. And the first is Jim Collins' book, Good to Great. Some of you may have read this book, and if you haven't, it's really an interesting read because it talks about what makes organizations excellent and how do we leverage our strengths as an organization. But I think what's absolutely vital in this book and really worth paying attention to is the first sentence in the entire book says that good is the enemy of great. And that resonates with me because it's a reminder of this notion of sliding or homeostasis, if you will. Like, how do we continue to improve as an organization? So this coming year, we're going to spend a lot of time looking at what is our current reality with respect to curriculum and instruction and our organization as a whole, and how do we take our really good organization and really move to that next level of great. And closing that gap between good and great in a system that's already really good can be really hard because the amount of movement required is pretty small. But it is important for us to go back and look at what are some of those best practices in curriculum and instruction that can really help us in our classrooms educate all of our kids, and when we say all, we mean all, at really high levels of academic rigor and support. So another book that we're going to be looking at this year that will help us do that is John Hattie's Visible Learning. So this is another book that I would recommend to the community to take a look at. And I would say to you, do not read this book cover to cover, or you might actually sleep through the entire summer. What I will say to you, though, is cruise it and take a look, and you can jump section by section. But what's really great about Hattie's book, Visible Learning, is it talks about a meta-analysis of best practice for curriculum and instruction that has been done and sort of co-located into one book. And it talks about effect size of the work that's been done, what practices have the highest yield in terms of student achievement and the like. And so I'm excited about those two books to share with you. The third one that I really want to ask you to sort of think about reading this summer is Mindset by Carol Dweck. This is an older book, but a good one, and it really talks about how do we think about organizations, how do we think about growth, and how do we think about getting better. And Mindset by Carol Dweck really sort of sets the stage to talk about a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And so are we as a school system and as a community thinking about the work that we do within a growth mindset or a fixed mindset? And so that will help us sort of set the stage for continuing to get better into the future, because we are an educational institution that believes strongly in this notion of being a learning organization. And if we're truly a learning organization, we must think about ways that we can continuously improve, which means that we can't continue to slide or stay in that place of homeostasis. So mindset will allow us to sort of think about how we take that next step in closing the gap between good and great. So I'm really excited about that, and I hope that you pick up a copy this summer and take a look at it. Every staff member and faculty member in our system will receive a copy of this, and so we will, as an organization, be reading it, and next year we'll be holding some conversations about that, and we would at that point welcome the community into those conversations as well. So with that sort of as a backdrop of where we're headed, I do want to take just a second to step back and thank our two guests for being here this morning. Michelle Kopic, our Director of Budget and Finance. I will turn to you first to tell us a little bit about yourself, and first, what is your role in the organization and how do you support our schools?
So I oversee all things budget and finance. Accounts payable, accounts receivable, our budget reporting, developing the budget, supporting our principals and our department directors in not only developing their budgets, but then also in managing their budgets and in their financial management throughout the year. And I view this role as a underpinning for the processes for educating our students. That takes money, and we have it's a finite resource, money, so we want to manage it well, and we want to also be very efficient in our processes so that it is not a cumbersome, bureaucratic experience when an educator or a department needs financing for some activity that they're doing. So we're looking at all of these processes, looking at how we can be easier to understand and easier to navigate, but also efficient, utilizing the resources that we already have through the software that we use and the people that are here. So I like to think that we make the teachers' jobs easier.
Yeah, I think that's right. And when I think about sort of the back side of the house and the importance of the back side of the house, budget and finance certainly plays that role. Teachers need to get paid, orders need to be received, we need books, we need materials, and it's a critical component of what we do. So what is your favorite part of the job?
I think it's fairly consistent throughout our system. My favorite part of the job are the people. We have such a great team here at Central Office. I love the opportunity when I do get to interact with my colleagues at the schools. It's just a very supportive, warm atmosphere. I've always been one of those kind of funky people that doesn't mind reconciling the checkbook, and so I think that has pointed me in a direction. But absolutely is the people.
Well, we need someone like you who can dot your I's and cross your T's, and we appreciate that. So tell us something about yourself that maybe the community doesn't know.
Well, my original background is in agricultural business management, and that's where my degree is, and I have some work experience there, and I guess my heart has always lent itself towards agriculture in our great country. But then my experience, as is frequent, I think, amongst college graduates, is you tend to find a road that is not what you thought it was going to be. So that agricultural management became medical management, became volunteer in finance, and so here I find myself.
Well, we are glad you're here.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. And Mary Beth, our Director of Community Outreach. Yeah, tell us about your job and how do you support our schools?
I sometimes think I have the best job in Falls Church because it's my job to know everybody in Falls Church and connect them. So I work with the business community and the nonprofit community and volunteers to get them into the schools to help teachers as they need. And then I also work with our PTAs and booster groups to help them work with the community. And when a teacher needs someone in their classroom to come and be a judge, this upcoming week is Business Day at the middle school. So the 7th grade teachers have asked me to help them find business people that can go into the classroom to talk to the kids about the businesses that they're creating and give them an assessment of how that works. So it's actually really authentic, real-world learning happening in classrooms.
That's awesome. What is your favorite part of the job? You got a great job, but what's your favorite part?
So another part of my job is planning special events for the schools. So I work on the Teacher of the Year program and the Support Staff Employee of the Year program and retirement and then convocation. And that's so fun because it's great to have everybody in Falls Church together celebrating the people that work here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us something about yourself that maybe the community doesn't know, although the community knows you well.
You know, the community knows a lot about me,
Yeah.
but prior to working for Falls Church Schools, I worked in Albuquerque for a while and I worked for a baseball card magazine. And then I also worked at the American Advertising Federation and did fun events in New York City all the time.
Well, I also know that you were interviewed for Oprah Magazine too, which, by the way, is pretty interesting, I think. Well, thank you both for being here. I really appreciate it. Part of the process that we've tried to put together in our From Central office is to bring some folks in and introduce you, the community, to some of the folks that work here in Central office so you get a better sense of what we do here. And hopefully this year we've been able to meet that need. All of our guests this year have been really great, and hopefully you got a chance to know them a little bit more. I really don't have anything else to report this month, but I do want to say thank you. As we wrap up the school year, it's not lost on me how important and valued the community is here in the City of Falls Church. Your support of the schools, your support of your students, the fact that you get your kids to school every day well fed and ready to learn is absolutely a huge piece in our success. And I just want to take this moment to say thank you for your incredible work. We are in the last mile of our marathon here. It's certainly not a sprint. And as we push through this last mile and hit the wall, again, we thank you for helping us get where we need to go with your kiddos this year. So until our next From Central office, which will be in September, we will sign off now and wish you the very best summer. Have a wonderful time with your family, reconnect, rest, and be ready to rock and roll in September. Have a great summer.